Thank you very much for joining me on Times Now, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, Union Petroleum Natural Gas Minister. You've been somebody who has watched him, studied him for long. A man who's never been a minister. He was a pracharak and straight chief minister and the prime minister. How do you see this man in terms of his political, inclinations and just the man that he is, Narendra Modi?
Navika ji, thank you very much. I feel uniquely privileged. Uniquely privileged because I've had a good fortune of being a member of his team for the last 8 years. 8 years I completed in a few days ago. But before that, I had the privilege of knowing him also when he was the chief minister of Gujarat. But more than that, I also had the privilege of knowing him before he became chief minister. So that the journey that you described from pracharak to prime minister, it's a journey which is in so many respects unique. It's one of a kind. And you know, what does Modi, the political personality, involve? One, total commitment and dedication to what he does. What he did in his early life, left home very early to seek larger meaning. Not left home in order to gallivant, to enjoy life in the way it is normally associated with youngsters who want to leave home. Then he worked for the public good. He worked for social causes. And then he assumed the mantle of being chief minister. He was the first prime minister of India who, on becoming prime minister, brought with him hands-on experience. And that translates into what you see today in terms of the decisive guidance, inspiration, first inspiration and guidance that he's providing in order to take the nation from a $2 trillion to a $4 trillion economy today, and the path of Atmanirbharta to become a Viksit Desh by 2047.
So, Mr. Hardeep Puri, you said you worked with many heads of states in the past as a civil servant and now with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. To your mind, what is the big difference that you've seen? Because this is a man, and we are calling him Jan Jan Ka Modi because to me that's what he embodies. He's a little bit of everybody's elder. The elders look at him as a son, as a family member. What is it that you see different in terms of the way his mind is wired? Does he work from his mind only? Is there a heart and a very gentle touch there? How do you describe him in comparison to other decision makers in the past?
If you want to talk about qualities of the heart, the very fact that he ensures that at the time of the pandemic, 800 million, Navika, I want to underline, 800 million people started receiving and are still receiving 3 meals of dry ration in a day. That is compassion. That is large-heartedness. And, the previous government had destroyed the vaccine manufacturing capacity in the public sector between 2010 and 14. And yet, we resurrected it in the private sector. And what happens? You made 230 crore vaccine doses and distributed them almost free to people in India and also to 150 other countries in the world. Now that is qualities of compassion. But look at where the mind is. He is always setting targets which are not tomorrow and day after. He's setting targets which are 3 years, 5 years, 25 years. When was that Viksit Bharat target given? And, when he started talking about a $5 trillion economy, a lot of my cynical friends said, yaar, ye kya hai, 5 trillion kaise hoge? Today, nobody's questioning the 5 trillion. You're already at 4.3. You're looking at 7 trillion and 10 trillion. And you're looking at Viksit Bharat. And some of the cynics will say, Arey bhai, if you don't grow at 8%, Arey bhai, last quarter you grew at 7.8%. Previous quarter, 7.4%. Now, even if you don't maintain that, even if you grow at 7%, all this nonsensical talk about middle income trap, etc., it's neither here nor there.
Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, you've been somebody who's seen him in the last few days in Varanasi. You were with the Prime Minister. You were in Assam with him. You're going to be with him in other places. Do you think this milestone kind of sinks in with him, or is he somebody who doesn't look at age as a number on the board? It is, in continuum that his work goes on. From the time he stepped into real politics in 2001 in very difficult situation in Gujarat till today.
Well, look, I mentioned Navika ji right at the outset that I've had the privilege of knowing him before he became Chief Minister. And I've known him as an individual, somebody we deeply respected even then. I had the privilege of hosting him in Geneva when I was permanent representative, I think in the year 2003. I've seen him evolve. I've seen him now. I have the privilege of meeting him on every Wednesday morning. And I can tell you, the last meeting I had with the Honorable Prime Minister, I was with the delegates, other people, they all came out and saying, my God, look at him. He's full of ideas. I mean, age is just a number is one part to look at it. But it's not just a number. It seems to be, getting better and better. I mean, anybody who can, quietly crack a joke, sometimes at his own expense. I mean, it shows the largeness of where he is going, etc. And I think that as we celebrate his 75th birthday, from my point of view, I'm a small member of his team. I'm only having an ardas done in 3 of the Gurdwara Sahibs with which I'm associated. 3, actually it's 5, in Delhi, in Patna Sahib, in Kanpur and other places. We just pray for his long life and good health. Because I don't think before 2014, even those of us who knew him realized that this is the extent of the difference he can make. And now that difference is visible in empirical terms, in terms of the figures, in terms of the emotional change and the ability to weather, crises. I mean, when pandemic came on us, nobody had a clue as to what it meant. Some people had dealt with swine flu, some had dealt with Ebola. Nobody realized that this was something like the Spanish flu of 1918 when millions died. And yet, we weathered it. Today we came out stronger, both in terms of our pharmaceutical vaccine producing capacity. Even now, I keep saying, and I see him at close quarter, you look at what's happening with the global turbulence, and I think the best is to come. As I would like to say, picture abhi baki hai.
Picture abhi baki hai. But he's had some, very turbulent times to look after. The Bhuj earthquake destruction in Gujarat, where he excelled in terms of the relief, rehabilitation, and then rebuilding. Then we've had, the COVID pandemic that you're talking about. There have been challenges that have come his way. Has he always seemed in control? Is there any anecdote that you can remember? Because administration could have been overwhelming at that time, when there were oxygen shortages, when there were dead bodies, when there was lockdowns. Any anecdotes that you can recall, Mr. Hardeep Puri, which give us an insight into the man?
I can recall many anecdotes, but I will just confine myself to 1 or 2, if you permit. When the Bhuj earthquake came, I was posted in London, and the Swaminarayan Temple in London mounted a massive rehabilitation effort. And when we talked back and saying, where is it being organized, we saw a young chief minister in action. And I saw that action at front page, because the people who were giving the relief, providing the relief, and who were organizing the logistics had such a sense of confidence. Something like 28,000 Indian students got trapped in the initial phases of the Russian-Ukraine military conflict. I was in Assam, I think in Guwahati somewhere. Late at night, I get a call on a no-caller identity. Now, these calls, I'm very clear. When I look at it, and somebody said, "Saab baat karenge," and he came on the line. He said, "मैं कल सुबह आपको sending you I did not know it was Hungary at that stage. I'm sending you there. Aap aa jaiye. We reached back early morning next day, had a meeting, and all of us, the 5 of my colleagues and I were on different flights together. By the way, there were students from other countries, many countries who were also trapped in that military conflict. But India was the only country in the world which sent its cabinet ministers, mobilized its machinery, sent its airlines to evacuate. And by the way, in the process, we evacuated students from our neighboring countries, from Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. We even evacuated students from the United States of America. You know, that rescue and relief operation. I'll tell you another one. There was a tsunami, and there was some relief that has to be sent to different places. I remember the earthquake in Turkey. He was outside Delhi. Immediately on the telephone, he ordered the RN rescue and relief effort to be there. Planes full of supplies ended up there. I've got so many anecdotes. When there comes a challenge, there's a saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. But there's no betrayal on his face of any tension or anything like that. I remember an incident. I was sitting in the parliament. When I was summoned, he was there with 2 of his other colleagues. He said, this COVID is spreading beyond a point. We'll have to stop air operations for a while. And he was absolutely right, because the contagion was spreading at a level which nobody had any control. I think we had a reasonably good idea where it was coming from. But, when I told him, yes, we can do it, but I've got so many flights in the air, he said, you work out the logistics. 2 minutes, we got a decision. And one of his, real strength, he's got strength of, character, strength of decision-making, ability to navigate crisis. But one great thing, if you take a problem to him, he will apply his mind, he will have his own research done, then he will sit down with you and tell you why he's taking a course of action. And if it's something serious, you come out of that meeting feeling, my God, you've cut through all the cobwebs and you've got a decision, and here we go. That is what is shaping the direction of this country.
Hardeep Singh Puri, thank you very much for joining us and giving us insights into the personality who is loved by the country, but who you've seen at close quarters.